In 2008, the European Union was the largest economy on Earth, bigger than the United States, bigger than China. Then the rest of the world went past it. What happened in the last 20 years? Today we're going to discuss 5 fronts where the Eurozone gave up ground. Part of the decline is simple subtraction. In 2020, the bloc lost its second largest economy and its financial capital with it. 15% of the EU's total economy walked out of the door on the 31st of January 2020. One political decision removed a sixth of the bloc. The single market went from 512 million consumers to 447, nearly $3 trillion of output gone from the balance sheet overnight. And it cost both sides. Goods trade between the United Kingdom and the EU dropped and never recovered. Customs checks and paperwork took a permanent slice out of Europe's largest trading relationship. But Brexit explains one bad year. It does not explain the other 17. The rest is sectoral, and it starts with the industry Europe invented. Europe invented the car industry. China took it in about 10 years. The continent that built the first cars is now being outproduced, out-exported, and undercut while its own plants close. A decade ago, China exported fewer cars than Belgium. Today, it ships around 7 million vehicles a year, roughly a quarter of every car that crosses a border. Europe wrote the emissions rules. Someone else built the cars. 3/4 of the world's battery cell capacity sits in China. Europe has 7%. At home, the industry is shrinking. Volkswagen announced its first German factory closures in 87 years. EU car production has fallen from 19 million to 15. 4 million cars a year, gone. And cars are only the visible part. Wherever the world builds physical things at scale, Europe's share is falling at roughly the same rate. Since the year 2000, Europe's share of world manufacturing has fallen from 22% to 13%. China's went from 8 to 29. Europe lost ground in the automobile industry. It missed the boat entirely in the tech sector. Search engines, social networks, cloud servers, phone software, chips, AI models. Every layer of the modern stack belongs to someone else. Europe's role became writing the rules for other people's products. Even the crown jewel points outward. ASML is a genuine monopoly, and almost every machine it builds leaves the country. For Taiwan, Korea, China, and the United States. The chips, the factories, and the value land somewhere else. Even the infrastructure underneath is rented. 7 in 10 euros of European cloud spending go to 3 American providers. Which raises the obvious question, why doesn't Europe simply build its own? There is a structural funding gap. Research money and risk capital are the 2 inputs Europe consistently undersupplies. The EU set itself a 3% research target in the year 2000. On the latest comparable figures, it spends 2.2. Korea spends 5. America, 3.6. Risk capital barely shows up. Europe deployed 66 billion euros of venture capital last year. The United States deployed 301. And research without risk capital is a gift. Someone else takes the idea to scale and keeps it. Klarna listed in New York, not Stockholm. Spotify did the same in 2018 and ARM in 2023. The research is European. The ownership isn't. Mario Draghi put a number on the bill, 800 billion euros a year in extra investment, almost 5% of GDP, just to stop falling further behind. Money is one input. The other 2 are energy and people, and Europe is short of both. A German factory pays roughly double what a Texan one pays for the same megawatt hour before a single worker is paid. Energy is an input into everything. Price it above your competitors, and you don't export the product. You export the factory. That is what's happening. Steel, aluminum, plastics, fertilizer. European output in those sectors is down almost a fifth since 2021, and the new capacity is being built in America and Asia instead. And the workforce is shrinking. Europe's working-age population has been falling since 2012 and is on track to lose more than 20 million people by 2045. Every point of growth now has to come from productivity Europe isn't generating, which leaves one pattern. Since 1990, America has minted around 20 companies worth more than 100 billion euros. China, roughly 7. Europe, none. Of the 10 most valuable companies in the world, 8 are American. Europe's two biggest rank number 25 and number 31. Line up the biggest companies in each region by value and by age, and the shape of the problem is obvious. America's giants are young and worth trillions. Asia's are newer still. Europe's are old and worth a fraction as much. So what would it take for Europe to compete again? Cheaper energy, a single capital market, fewer rules or different ones? Tell me which lever you would pull first.